So you're looking for different insurance options and Geico popped up. They're the company that everybody's talking about. Actually, on this channel, they're talked about a lot, especially in the comments below. If you look at any of my previous videos that are drivers that are under 25, almost out of the top 5, Geico is in almost every single one. So what makes them a good company, and are they a good company? Well, today we're going to dive in fairly deep and go through not only the history of Geico and kind of some of the little pieces of where they started to where they are to who owns them and the meaning behind their name and where they are today. You're going to be a little bit surprised because as great information that's out there, there's a couple things that you really want to find out about Geico Insurance. So let's dive right in. Hey guys, I'm Mark with Think Insurance, and I'm glad you got this review with Geico. It's going to be fairly in-depth, and I will go as quick as I can and give you all of the data and recommendations. So make sure you stay till the end because I actually have a company that I think is crushing Geico, sort of, and we'll talk about that at the end of this video and to find out who's a fit and whether you should even consider them as an option through this review. Now, I did spend several hours researching this, so there is going to be some in-depth data, and I siphoned through some of the kind of junk or minutia of the web, and we're going to dive into some reviews as well. If you guys get good value out of this, the best thing for me that you could do to help would be to smash the thumbs up button. That really tells the algorithm that you're interested in the content. If you want more items like this, I do a lot of reviews with different companies, talk about coverages, discounts, all the stuff to save you money and time, but give you the best coverage, then subscribe. It's a great channel to have. Don't forget to turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of my future videos. So Geico Insurance started in 1936. It was actually originally created in Texas, and the official name to Geico was Government Employee Insurance Company, and that was the Geico brand. They initially only went towards the federal employees. So they weren't looking for your average daily customer. They were kind of starting in a rough time. They actually, at the time, it was during the Great Depression. And that's a feat in its own, to start a company when there's a huge Great Depression going on, the government can't even afford to pay employees, but you're gonna go towards employees for insurance. Well, it panned out. They're currently the second largest insurance in the US, right behind State Farm. Now, they're very, very close to another company, which we'll mention here in just a moment. They're about 1% away, but they've kind of grown. If you are kind of curious if this is true or not, and I'll tell you right now it is, the main person that owns Geico Insurance is Warren Buffett. And if you know Warren Buffett, he's a huge investor, very smart. We call it old money because he is probably the best investor, one of the best investors in the world, but he has kind of a slow, methodical process, but it works. It creates revenue over revenue, and you can kind of see that through Geico, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. They currently have about 28 million vehicles that they insure, and the company that owns Geico, that Warren Buffett owns, is Berkshire Hathaway. So if you really want to know the parent company and the big overall foresight, you're going to look up Berkshire. Out of those vehicles, they have about $35.2 billion in written premium. They are massive. They're just a big company. They're A+ rated, and some websites say A++, but I think they're just an A+ if I'm not mistaken, which is still amazing. Anything above an A in my book is a great company. They're really good with service. They've got really high ratings on prices, but there's a couple things that I noticed that seemed kind of off the hinge when I did some research. I like to dive into the reviews really heavily, and we're going to get to those in a second. JD Power has ranked them 3 out of 5, which is average. And that's where it kind of drew some red flags. I'm like, well, why is JD Power giving them a 3 out of 5? But their website says they're like 4.6 or 4 point whatever out of 5. Obviously, they're kind of padding that. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Now, before I go through that, I went through Wallet Hub as well. That was a great website for some resources, and they really mentioned some of the best things about them, and the most popular pieces is their discounts. I actually made a video that you guys can watch here that is going to go over the discounts that Geico offers. So go ahead and save that for later, but I'll just tell you kind of the big ones, so to speak. They offer a safety driver discount, which is up to 40% off of the whole thing. That's a big thing. They offer a good driver discount, which gives you up to 26% off. If you're part of the military, even though they opened up the world of insurance, not just government employees anymore, but if you're part of the military, you can get up to 25% off. And if you have multiple vehicles, which is anything above one vehicle, so 2 cars or more, you're going to get up to 25% off. Wait a minute, Mark, you always talk about how on this channel, the biggest discount you can usually get is a multi-policy discount. That's what everybody tells me. You got to do your home and your auto with them. You got to do your renters and your auto with them. Well, with Geico, it's a little bit different. They don't have the best home or renters policy available. We're also going to dive a little bit into that as well as we go through some of the stats here. But right now we've got the top 10 companies. You got State Farm, it has 16% of the market, the share. You've got Geico has 13%, so they're chasing them pretty heavily. Progressive is 1% away at 12, and then Allstate 9%. The company that's kind of pushing up in the ranks is USAA. They're ranked really high as far as service, but they're what Geico used to be. You have to be part of a government or some sort of affiliation with the military, and they're controlling 6%, followed by Liberty Mutual at 5%, Farmers at 4%, Nationwide at 3%, American Family at 2%, and Travelers at 2%. So that's kind of the idea of the size of Geico compared. If you were to add the bottom 5, that would be about the size of Geico. So the really good things about them that they're doing really well is they have an online preferred system where if you're not really wanting to deal with an agent a whole lot and you just want to get an app or a program or just pay your bill without having to log into stuff, that's where Geico shines the most. They really are more of a hands-on for your own use, and they're available when you need them. Now, you're going to need to download their app if you're going to file claims, but if you're just going to pay their bill, they have a portal where you can just log your information and pay your bill right away. It's simple and easy to do. In general, they have lower rates than most companies. Now, with the stats on one of these sites we're going to go through, like I said in a moment, we're going to mention that here in just about a minute, where there are a couple companies that are beating them as far as rates go on average. But let's find out for sure if it's worth it between these two companies. Of course, you got to have the negatives, and the number one negative is not having a local agent. In most cases, Geico is the virtual version of insurance, so you don't really have the same person that you can go to that understands your situation and knows who you are, has all the notes, and just really is there with you at their best interest. You could get an amazing customer service person on the phone one day and then not so much the next day. So constantly having somebody new and different isn't necessarily a negative. It can be a positive if the company treats them well and helps them become the best agent, but also has the consistency. And they do sort of have that consistency, which is a big positive for Geico. But at the end of that process, you just don't have that same local agent that you would typically want. The second negative to having Geico insurance is if you have an at-fault accident, you're not competitive. They just don't do well when you have at-fault accidents. In most cases, and almost every single case when you compare them to other companies, that's where they just shut the doors and say, hey, if you're willing to pay the bill, we're still here, we'll insure you, but we're going to charge you about 10 to 15% more than the guy down the street. If you are in the market and you are shopping for different insurance, I'll put a link below where you can actually get a quote from multiple companies. We have one version which is up to 17 different companies and another which is up to 30 different companies through an app. So you have a couple different options down there if you guys are interested or aren't a fit or want to compare to what options you have available. That will be in the link in the description. The third and the last real main negative for Geico is that the homeowner's insurance, it's non-existent. They don't have their own home policy. Now, they did partner with multiple companies across the US, so they do allow you to get that multi-policy discount, but some states don't offer it. On top of it, there's over 30, and according to my research, there was 31 different companies that do the home insurance. The biggest negative to that is you have no say in which company they go with. So they're going to give you a generalized quote and say they're our partner, but we're not going to tell you what company you're underwritten with until you're ready to buy that policy. It's this company, take it or leave it. There's no option to switch to a different one. The thing that you're going to find with those is the prices can vary. So in most cases, they say that Geico isn't typically the best option when it comes to combining policies. You really don't want to necessarily look at them as the one size fits all, where you're going to combine your home, your auto, your umbrella, your motorcycle, your ATVs, all of that stuff. Although Geico is good at having ATVs and motorcycles and combining those. It's just when you're adding that home, which is what most of us want. They just want one bundle, one package. If it's available, you just gotta hope that it's the right fit. Otherwise, you're gonna have to check other options. A couple small things that I found that Geico was good at is their mechanical breakdown. They actually have a pretty cool mechanical breakdown program, which not all companies offer. Apart from that, they're pretty much the same as any other insurance company. So if you're getting a better rate with Allstate or State Farm or Nationwide or whoever, there's not really a big enough comparison outside of some of the customer service issues where you're gonna necessarily want to stick with them over another company. There's a few select companies like Citizens or Safeco or Liberty Mutual that are kind of those higher brand where they're looking for adding different packages and different coverages and cashback options and things like that might be more of your premium options, and they're just not going to be the fit if you're looking for that type of option. Geico's really not the one you're going to want to go with. On top of that, Progressive is actually beating them on the breakdown because of your deductible. So the mechanical breakdown is like having a warranty on your car. If your transmission goes out, you pay a deductible. If something goes wrong with your brakes, you pay a deductible. And so every individual piece that happens wrong, you're paying that extra piece of a deductible for having that option. With Progressive, where you have multiple things happen, you're going to only pay one deductible instead of multiple deductibles. I do love that Geico offers rideshare. That is something that is fairly new to the industry in the last 5 to 10 years, where if you're doing Uber or Lyft, I'll put a video up here if you guys want to learn more about those options and what companies are, but Geico offers it. So you don't have to go off and get a commercial policy if you are going to do any type of rideshare program. And the thing that I like personally is that they offer accident forgiveness. Not all companies do that, but they allow you to purchase accident forgiveness, which is unique. Most companies require that you've been accident free and with them in their company for 3 years to 5 years before you could even get that option. There are companies that do the same thing that Geico does, and they allow you to just join if you've had no accidents in the last 3 years. As you join them, you get that. But with Geico, you can actually just add it as a service, and you can pay an additional premium to have that just automatically included on your policy as long as you haven't had claims, even if you're with them from day one. Now, they don't require that you purchase it. Once you've gone with Geico for 5 years or longer, no claims, no accidents, you're clean driving, they're going to automatically give you that in addition. So that's kind of another bonus tip that if you plan on being with them long term, you're going to get some really good options with them. Although right now I don't think they're in California, Connecticut, or Massachusetts with those. So just kind of keep in mind if you're in one of those states that doesn't apply to you. So let's dive into some of the reviews. I'm actually on Geico's website right now on my phone, and I'm just gonna read you some things. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go to Google. I typed in Geico insurance review, and I went specifically to geico.com. So this is coming straight from them. There's some unique things that I found was very interesting. They said their 88% of reviews would recommend Geico insurance. Here's the thing. I recommend that you guys watch my how to find an insurance company based off reviews here, and you're gonna find out the strategy that I'm using here to determine whether they're a good company in general. And from what I'm finding so far, most people today are saying that Geico isn't the best, and a lot of it has to do, oddly enough, with the technology piece. So let's go through a couple of the reviews based on the newest reviews to the oldest reviews, because Geico's gonna definitely take the last 20, 30 years of reviews that they've gotten. Granted, it wasn't a big thing, so that social proof really hasn't become a thing until probably the last 5 years, maybe even the last 10 years. So a lot of these reviews aren't gonna be past that, but let's just go to the most recent ones to find out what people are saying. So starting right off, they got the very first one, which was May 6th of 2021. They got a 5-star review. Awesome for that. Their online system extremely useful and friendly. Whenever I have to contact Geico representative, I'm always pleased with the courteous promptness, knowledge. So really good review. The very next one was May 5th of 2021. Advertises good quotes for insurance. Raised the price for someone that is no longer on my credit history. I'm trying to change my address and they're trying to charge me an additional $6 per month for an address change. Next one, 3 stars on chat and system logs me out. That makes me angry. It's the worst thing ever. I would have gave them a 1 star. Next one is May 3rd, a 1-star review. Problem with printing out insurance cards. Fix it. Can you please fix the printout? And they went on, they said it's 90% scaled and they're aggravated and it's a PDF and it's just frustrating. The next one is a 2-star, inability to report claims when needed. So a simple windshield crack so far resulted in ongoing hours-long endeavor as an unsuccessful strain to simply report the claim right out of, and it's like 5 paragraphs long. So they're obviously upset. 3 stars, website needs real work. 1 star, I have 2 complaints. First is the email sent to me was a waste of time. And then the second, tired of wasting time. So they're just frustrated with the app to receive the discount. They weren't getting a discount correctly. To give them credit, the next one is a 5-star. The process of making the policy and payment schedule changes are very clear and easy. Thank you, streamlined. Then a 1-star, lousy website. 1-star, ridiculous excuses. I'm dismayed to be told that 4 months later, a VIN cannot be manually entered, which sounds kind of frustrating. I think that's a pain as well. 3 stars is next. Tough time connecting with an agent, and that's where you're finding that not having a specific agent, the busier Geico gets. You got to remember they had originally 1 million customers, policies enforced, and then they had 3 million, and then they had 5, and I think they're up to 10 plus million customers, which is what's made them the second largest company. But also the more customers they have, the busier they get, and there's going to be times where they're just overwhelmed. You just can't always meet the demand. We've got next is April 11th, 2021, 5 stars. Great customer for 15 years. Always been happy with their service, ease of use to the website. Anything I've ever needed in years have been provided. 5 star, 5 star, 3 star, 5, 1, 4, 1, no help. 1, service is terrible. And then let's just do a couple more just to give you some examples. 1, bad customer service. 3, what am I reviewing? 5, excellent quotes. Big thank you for years of service. A 5 star, 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, 2 stars, 1 star, and it just continues. So you're kind of seeing a trend. The most recent, if I were to just randomly pick the 100 reviews out of what Geico is saying, where they're 88%, I don't find that to be true today. And I'm finding a lot of companies are actually similar to that. Though I'm not going to challenge their star rating because over however many thousands of people, which I believe this one has 13,676 reviews, I'm not going to challenge and say that 88% didn't give them a 3 to 4 star or higher. It's just, what time frame was that done? Are you guys too busy today to take care of me versus what the future is? So I recommend that at the time that you're watching this, if you're thinking of going with Geico, go straight to their website, read their reviews, go from newest to oldest, and just look at a few of them to see if that's something that you're interested in. I'm not going to dive too far more into the reviews. I did actually go to Wallet Hub as well, and they're giving about 3,000, not quite 3,000 reviews, and they're about a 3.4 out of 5, which is similar to what you're finding, that there are a lot of tech and complaints. But I kind of feel like on the internet, that's what most people do anyways, is they're there to speak their voice and get their opinion and get their voice heard as well. So you're not going to have as many people that are going to give you just positive reviews. To me, based on those, I would proceed with caution, but it wouldn't necessarily knock Geico out of the contender of me wanting to get some rates with them, especially if I'm just looking for auto and I'm not looking to go beyond the home or renter's insurance. The last part is we're going to talk about some average prices from Wallet Hub. They said if you're 18 years old, you can plan on about $237 a month. If you're 21, you're about $91 a month, so almost a third. If you're 45, it's $42 a month on average. I'm assuming this is just PL and PD. 45 with the speeding ticket is $63. That's not bad. If you had a DUI, it's about $101. And then 55, 65, you're $42 a month, which isn't that bad. Now, the company that I think is actually beating Geico Insurance, and it's from a few pieces that I found through different websites that compared prices where multiple companies were in the mix, where they took State Farm and they took Progressive and they took Geico and all the top guys and they put their prices together. Well, about 5 to 10% cheaper is coming in with Progressive. I personally am a huge fan of Progressive, as you've noticed in some of these videos where I claim them the best company in 2020, and I kind of feel like they're trending that way in 2021 as well. But they're really good with having the ability to work with claims and tickets and accidents and having issues where there's one or two issue and the rate doesn't go skyrocketing. And I think that's the reason that they're very competitive. They're very similar to some of the reviews that Geico has, some of the coverages. There's a few tweaks that I think that Progressive is doing a little bit better. But the biggest thing and the biggest reasons I lean towards them a little bit more is that they have a better history, in my opinion. Geico has a great story of coming out of the Great Depression and making it work. But they also have a history of just advertising beyond belief. They are probably the biggest or the number one advertiser to pay money to ad and get people in the door, which was great. And that's the way a company wants to grow, is they just push out as many ads as they can do. They are really popular with the caveman story, if you haven't watched those. And then they've turned into the gecko, which is Geico's current animal or whatever you want to call her, or mascot. It's great. Like, it's fun. The little pig went by. That was a fun one. And they are really good with those, but they spent a lot of money doing that advertising. And it obviously paid off where some other companies didn't really push that. With Progressive, if you watch the Progressive history, they talk about the growth and the innovation and planning ahead, being the first company to offer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and offering claim centers and it's who's innovating to the point where they're always ahead and not trailing behind the company before you. Granted, price has to play a factor, which Progressive is beating them, although I do feel like Geico is a good option. At this point, it's up to you guys. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Do you think Geico is a great company? What has been your experience? Have you been with them before? Are you leaning towards going with them? Let me know in the comments below and let other people know just what your thoughts are. Once again, if you guys need a quote from multiple companies, that's down there in the description. Don't forget to watch the video on Geico's best discounts, because there are some pieces that people don't realize are out there that will give you an additional 8 or more % off that people just don't understand. Otherwise, I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.